Hello Year 5 and welcome to your maths lesson for Tuesday. I'm really excited about this lesson, so I'm going to get going as soon as possible because there's quite a bit that we're going to be getting through today. So let's have a look. Yesterday we looked at equivalent fractions, and today we're going to be looking at applying the equivalent fraction knowledge. Now we're going to do our starter as normal. So I'd like you to pause the video now and have a go at doing your starter. There are 6 quick questions. See how much you know. So off you go. Good luck. Great, let's have a look at the answers together now. So first of all, 5 minus 8 is going to be an answer of minus 3. Remember, we start with that number line, draw the number line, start with the number 5. When we're subtracting, we move to the left, you bunny hop 8 places, and you will land on the number minus 3. 17 times 2, okay, you can do your vertical method. You can also do other methods. It's not the only way you need to work it out. In fact, 17 could be broken up into 10 and 7 and multiplying them by 2, which is probably the easiest way. So 10 times 2 is going to be 20. 7 times 2 is 14. And if you add them up, it is going to be, sorry, that's not the plus sign. If you add them up, you are going to get 34. Okay? So your answer is going to be 34. And again, if you do it this way, it's exactly the same. 2 times 7 is going to be 14. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Okay, so my answer there is 34. Right, moving on. Half of 138. Again, you could do your bus stop method. And if you're doing half, it's dividing by 2. Or you can break the number up into 100 plus 30 plus 8, and again using your same method that we just did earlier. Half of 100 is 50, half of 30 is 15, half of 8 is 4, and if I add up those numbers, I'm going to get 69. Right, now I'm going to use my bus stop method. And I know that this number is going to go in equally because it ends on a 5. 845 divided by 5. Right, how many groups of 5 can I make with 8? I can make 1 group and I'll have 3 left over. How many groups of 5 can I make with 34? I'm going to be able to only make 6 groups and I'm going to be left with 4. And 5 goes into 45 9 times, and my answer is going to be 169. Right, let's just double check. 5, yes. Left 3, yep, that's happy. And I feel confident that that's the answer. See, even us teachers check our answers quickly at the end. Right, the next one. We've got 9,827.7, making sure my decimals line up. So I'm going to put my decimal down. What number comes immediately after is the 5. What number comes immediately before? The 3. And then I can fill in the rest of the digits. Right, I haven't added any zeros or anything strange and wonderful, okay? That number needs to look exactly like that number. Right, and then I am adding. So let's make sure I add my sign in, so I make sure I make no silly mistakes, okay? That I am adding these two numbers. So 7 plus 5 is going to be 12. Bring down my decimal, very important that it's in my answer. And I'm going to carry the 1. 7 plus 3 plus 1 is 11, carry the 1. 2 plus 8 plus 1 is 11, carry the 1. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11, carry the 1. And 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay. And double check that I've written these numbers correctly. Because again, we also make silly mistakes, and I'm fairly confident that that is the answer. And the last one is going to be 2.56 times 5. Setting up my work nice and neatly. Okay, and there's a decimal in my question. So I must remember to put my decimal in my answer as well. Okay, and we go. 5 times 6 is 30. Carry the 3 and regroup. 5 times 5 is 25 plus 3 is 28. carry the 2, and 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 2 is 12. Going to go and check, have I written the numbers down correctly? Yes, I have. I'm happy. Have a quick little look. Yes, that's 30. So there's the 30. 5 times 5 is 25 plus 3 is 28. Carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 2. And I must make sure that I've also remembered to add these numbers. Silly mistakes happen when we forget to add these numbers. Right, so that is your starter. So hopefully you've done really well, 6 out of 6. Remember, these are all questions we've been doing in class and that you've seen in previous years. So this is nothing new or strange or wonderful, right? So hopefully you've done really well. And if you haven't and you've struggled on a particular question, go back and see if you can figure out how to get it right for future. Right, so as I said, our learning objective today is going to be looking at equivalent fractions and applying our knowledge from yesterday of that equivalent fractions to see how well we do. So this is your big question for today. I have got 2. You can have pizzas, you can have pies, cakes, if it helps you to really envision and see what we are working with. And I would like you to color in a third of this shape for me very quickly. So you can roughly draw it on in your book. We know it is fractions because it's got equal sizes. Remember yesterday we spoke about the fact that in order for something to be a fraction, it needs to have equal parts. Okay, so these are equal. So we know that these have been divided up equally. So how can I color in a third of the shapes? On your piece of paper, just quickly draw your circle. It doesn't have to be exactly correct on your piece of paper. And quickly just shade in a third. Right, we'll go through the answers in a moment, but let's see now if you can use your equivalent fraction knowledge, and I'm going to give you a little helpful hint here. I have a shape, a circle, that I have divided into 8 equal parts. If I have a quarter here, I want to only shade a quarter. So how can I make this an equivalent fraction to find out how many pieces I must color in? So I'm going to give you a moment to figure that out, so you can pause the video, have a go at that, see how you do, and we'll mark it in a moment. Great, let's see. Right, the first one is nice and easy because if I have the fraction a third, I know that I've taken a whole shape and I've divided into 3 equal parts. The bottom number tells me how many equal parts I have, and I need to only shade in one of those equal parts. Okay, the top number tells me how many I've shaded or how many I've eaten. Okay, so not very neat coloring in, but there you can see only my third has been shaded. Doesn't matter which one of these 3 you would have shaded, but only one of them. Now this one I wanted a quarter, but I have divided the shape into 8 equal parts. So using my knowledge from yesterday, how can I make a quarter into an equivalent fraction, which means it's going to be worth the same amount, but they have not given it to me as 8s. So what can I do to the 4 to get 8? What did I do? Right, I multiplied it by 2. And whatever we do to the one number, we need to do to the other number. So I need to multiply the 1 by 2, and I get 2. Now, let me go and check. Have I got 8 pieces here? Yes, I do. So I'm happy with my denominator. And how many pieces now must I shade in? That's correct, 2. Okay, and if I had to try and make this as neat as possible, you can see that that is a quarter. Okay, not just one piece, all right? One piece is not a quarter of this shape, okay? Right, the bottom number tells me how many times I have divided this number up. Oh, well, this is not the number, but the whole number up, okay? And the top number tells me how many. So if you just cut it in one piece, you have not done that correctly because you have not divided your shape into quarters. If I did have a circle and I had to divide it into quarters, it would look something like that. And if I had to color in one little piece here, it would look something like that, and that's the same there, okay? So using your fraction equivalent knowledge from yesterday is going to be very important for today's lesson. So even though some of you might find that you're struggling a little bit, I'd like you to see if you can continue with the video, see how you feel towards the end, and then we can always have a look at the activities that you'll have to do today and see which ones are probably the ones that you would like to give a go. So Let's just have a quick look at our vocabulary. It talks about equivalent, which simply means equal. Okay, we're making equal fractions. So let's have a quick recap from yesterday. So whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other. So what have I done to the 4 to get 12? I've multiplied it by 3. And remember, we draw this arrow to show which direction we're moving in. So if I'm going 4 to the 12, I need to put times 3, okay? And so whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other. So my question mark would be the 3. And I can go and double check. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. So I'm very happy with that answer. Right, let's do these few here. Right, I'm going from the 6 to the 12. So I'm putting my arrow to show the direction I'm moving in. So what have I done to the 6 to get 12? I've multiplied it by 2. Whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other number, and 2 times 2 is 4. Right, see if you can have a go at this one very quickly. What have I done to the 9 to get 3? Remember, we're using the information that they give us. So there is my arrow. Whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other, and see if you can figure out that missing digit. Right, so I've got 9 divide by 3 gives me 3. So whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other. And then I say 12 divide by 3 is going to be 4. Okay, and I can do the inverse just to check. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. Right, can you have a go at this one now? Pause the video, see if you can match the equivalent fraction. So write them down, the actual fraction, and then see if you can match them up. So pause the video and have a go. Right, let's see how you did. Right, so the first one, we're going to first write these fractions. So I have one part that is shaded out of a total of 4. I have 3 parts that are shaded out of a total of 6. I have 2 parts shaded out of a total of 8. And I have 1 part shaded out of a total of 2. Right, so now I've got these 4 fractions. Which of them are equivalent, which means which of them take up the same space. So you don't even have to write the fractions really, because you can actually look at the shaded part. Which one of these letters looks at the same amount of space, has taken up the same amount of space as this piece here? And there it is, C. And if I have a look at a quarter and 2 eighths, what have I done to the 4 to get 8? Times it by 2. Whatever I do to the 1, I need to do to the other. And is 1 times 2 2? Yes, it is. So that one has to be correct. And then obviously I'm left with these. And 3 sixths is equal to a half. And an easy way to look at if something is a half is if I look at 3 and 6, I know that 3 is half of 6. So therefore it has to be a half. So hopefully you got that right. So as I said, we can use our equivalence knowledge to help us to work out a fraction of a shape which is being shown. So for example, let's do this one together. If you had to color in a half of the shape, you would tell me very quickly that that is half. And if you had to color in half this shape, you would tell me that that's a half, okay? Without even realizing it, you have colored in the correct amount of space. And if I had to write that as a fraction, I've colored in 1 part out of the 2. There are the 2 parts, and there's the 1 that I've colored in. And how many parts here have I colored in? 2, good. And how many in total do I have? 4, well done. So I know that a half is equal to 2 quarters because I've colored in the same amount of space, okay? And those are equivalent fractions. So now, could you please color in a third of these shapes for me? So quickly just draw it roughly in your book or on your piece of paper and see if you can quickly color in each of those shapes third. Great, let's see how you did. Right, so this one's nice and easy. It's already been divided into 3 equal parts. So I'm going to color 1 of those equal parts. My coloring is not very neat, so hopefully yours is a bit better than mine. And now this has not been divided into 3 equal parts, right? It's been divided into 9 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and they are equal. So I have a third here. And I also want to color in this a third. So I'm going to make an equivalent fraction. So I write down the number of blocks I have, which is 9. And what do I want to do? I want to create a third. I want to color in a third of that. So I'm going to say a third is equal to so many nines. And now I use my equivalent knowledge. 9 times what gives me, 3 times what gives me 9 times 3. And whatever I do to the one number, I must do to the other number. So 1 times 3 is 3. So how many blocks am I going to shade in? Any 3 blocks. Okay. Good. Hopefully you got that correct. Right, let's have a look. Which one of these is showing a third? Okay, so first of all, I'm going to go and write the fraction. So I have 2 parts that have been shaded out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to put my equals to. And then I have 1 part shaded out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I want to make them into a third. So I'm going to write a third there. I want to know which one is showing a third. So if I say 6, and I go and check this, whatever I do to the one number, I must do to the other. So 6 divide by 2 is going to be 3. And whatever I do to the one, I must do to the other. So divide by 2. 1 divided by 2 is not 1. So this is not correct. So let's have a look at this. 6 divide by 2 gives me 3. And 2 divide by 2 gives me 1. So this is going to be the block that's showing a third. So can you see I've used my equivalent fraction knowledge to work out if this is correct? Hopefully you're understanding. Right, can you now color in 3/4? So first you're going to write 3/4. You're going to write this fraction down, step 1, and you are having to look at this shape that they give you. How many pieces do we have in total? How many equal parts? And I would like you to have a go at this on your own now and see if you can work out the equivalent fraction of 3/4 to find out how many parts you need to color in. So pause your screen now and have a go. Right, let's have a look. 4 goes, how many parts do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to write 8. And now, what did I do to the 4 to get 8? I times it by 2. So what must I do to the 3? Times it by 2. And I'm going to get 6. And now that I have my equivalent fraction, and this fraction is showing me the number of parts that have been divided up, I can now say that I need to color in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I know that's not very neat, but you can see that that is going to be my 3/4 of that shape. Exactly the same amount has been taken up. Okay, remember equivalent fractions are equal. There's nothing different. And there is my 3/4. Doesn't matter which ones you color in as long as you colored in 6 equal parts. Right, so let's have a quick look at these 2 questions. It says Cole has colored 2 grids to create an equivalent fraction. So there's grid 1 and there's grid 2. It says here, the parts do not need to be together to create a fraction. So what they're saying is here, all the blue parts would actually be together over here. So this should be blue and this should be blue. These should be white, like so that it matches up to this one. Does that matter? And have a think. Write your answer down on your piece of paper. And if you need to pause the video, pause the video. So do you think yes or do you think no? Maybe give a little quick explanation as well. Right, and then let's have a look at this question. It says Jenny has colored 2 grids to create an equivalent fraction. Do you agree that she's created an equivalent fraction? So she said that amount is exactly the same as that amount, therefore these 2 shapes are equal. Do you agree with her or not? So write down your answer and you can pause the video now and give those 2 questions a go. Right, let's see how you did. Right, for Cole, it doesn't matter, okay? All right, he has colored in a half because what is this fraction? I've got 4/8, which is equal to a half, okay? So I have created an equivalent fraction there. All right, 2 times 4 is 8, 1 times 4 is 4. It doesn't matter where you've colored in. It doesn't have to be that this has to all be blue. You've still created half the shape has still been shaded. However, this one with Jenny, you can see here that there's a whole extra bar that has not been drawn in at the bottom. So Jenny would not be correct because the shading only shows there is a 1/4 here. She's got 1 part of the 4, and she's got 2 over 6. And I'd say 1 times 2 is 2, and 4 times 2 does not give me 8, so therefore it is not correct. Right, can you spot the mistakes here for me now? So just like we did earlier, we're going to look at this together, and we're going to be spotting some of the mistakes. So first of all, we're going to write the fraction. What is this fraction? It is a quarter. What is this fraction? I've got 2, 4, 6 blocks. And how many do I have in total? 4, 8, 12, 16. Right, let's check. 4 times 4 gives me 16, and 1, remember, whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other. And there's 1 times 4, 6. No, it is not. So how many should they have colored in? How many little blocks? Only 4 little blocks. Okay, let's have a look at B. I have 1/3 that has been colored in, 1 part out of the 3. And I've got 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3 times 2 is 6. And 1 times 2 should be 2, not 1. So how many parts should they have shaded here? Good, 2 parts. Right, can you see if you can do this one on your own now? So write the fraction equals, write this fraction and see where the mistake has taken place. So pause the video now and have a go at that. Right, let's look at A. I've got 1 part out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got this, and I've got 3 parts that have been shaded out of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to write 10. Right, so I'm going to say 5 times 2 gives me 10, and 1 times 2 does not give me 3. What does it give me? It gives me 2. So how many blocks should have only been shaded, or how many parts here? Only 2. Okay, let's try the next one. Let's just rub this out. Right, so I have 1 part that has been shaded out of 2. And I've got 3 parts that have been shaded out of 3, 6, 9, 12. Right, so 2, I said say 2 times 6 is 12. So whatever I do to the one number, I need to do to the other. And I have 1 times 6 is not going to be 3, it's going to be 6. So therefore, they should have colored in another 3 blocks. Hopefully this is now making some sense. And we're going to be moving on to our activities for today. So those of you who've struggled a little bit and you would prefer to carry on from yesterday's equivalent fractions, you can either do the 1 or 2 chili activity. All right. Those of you who feel quite confident with what I've just taught and you'd like to apply that knowledge, you can then fast forward the video and go and find the 3 chili exercises, which is going to be a test-based worksheet, which I'm going to share the screen. So you'll see a whole different page and you can go and give that a go. If you have finished everything at the end, there is a BBC quiz to see how well you've understood some of your fractions. Okay, and if you just type it in, you can then go and find it and you can complete it. All right, and right at the end, there's another little challenge. Okay, and there's a little challenge after each of your activities. So do look for their challenges and see if you can do them. Right, so I'm going to go through all the activities and then so you just need to go and look for your activity for today. Right, so these children who are going to be doing the 1 chili, you're just going to carry on from your equivalent fractions from yesterday, okay? So if you are still struggling with this, I suggest you go and find the Year 5 maths video from yesterday, go and re-watch it and see if you can then complete these questions. So pause the video at any time that you need to so that you can copy out the sums. And I think there are 24 in total. So at any time that you need to pause the video, please do so. So here are the first 16. And here are the rest of them. So at any point that you needed to pause the video to find the answers, to find the questions, please do so. So good luck and see if you can answer those. Right, here are your answers, one chili. So see if you've got these numbers, these missing numbers, all right, and see how well you did. hopefully you've done really well and you're now quite confidently understanding equivalent fractions. Right, these are your 2 chilies, okay? Again, remember, it's exactly the same now as yesterday, just the numbers are getting a little bit bigger. Right, so let's do the first one together. So if I say 5/8 is equal to something 16ths, and I'm going to find this missing number, I say, what have I done to 8 to get 16? I've multiplied it by 2. So what must I do to the 5? Multiply it by 2, which is 10. So my answer is going to be 10/16. Okay. If you're finding that you've got kind of flying through these questions quite quickly and easily, then what you can do is you can then look at the 3 chilies and see if you can give some of them a go. Right, so I'm going to quickly stop sharing and I'm going to find the next bit of information. Right, so these are the 3 chili questions. If you're doing 3 chilies, this is what you're going to be doing today. Okay, there's a couple of questions, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through them, and then I'm going to let you go try and get them, and then you can look at the answers at the end. Right, so it says each diagram below is divided into equal sections. Shade 3/4 of each diagram. Right, so here we go. All right, so you've got obviously different parts. So what you need to do is you need to work out what 3/4 are of. So you would then write how many times it's been divided up into 4. So if it's divided into 4, then it's easy. Then I would just color in 3 parts. Now you're going to put the number at the bottom. How many parts has this been divided up into? And then you would say equals 3/4, and then make an equivalent fraction, and the same with this one. Right, here's question number 2. Can you please match the picture to the fraction? Okay, so again, go and write down the fraction. So how many is this? If I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, I've got 8/10. All right, now there is no 8/10, but is there a number that if I can make an equivalent fraction with, that would equal the same amount? And 8/10 is equal to 4/5. So I would then match up those. Okay, if it's going to be easier for you, you can always write a little letter next to it, and then on your piece of paper say, like, if this is A, then you'd say A equals 4/5, B equals, and then you go and see if you can match those up for me. Right, this one, tick 2 shapes that have 3/4 shaded. So again, write the fraction equals 3/4, and then see if you can figure out if the equivalent, if it is an equivalent fraction. Okay, and the same with all of them. Right, question number 4. You are going to shade 1/5 of the shape, okay, and see if you can get the answer. So you're going to write 1/5 equals, how many pieces has this been divided up into, which will be your bottom number, and then what did you do to the 5 to get the bottom number? So whatever you do to the 1 number, you need to do to the top number. Right, you need to shade more triangles on the shape so that 1/3 has been shaded. See if you can figure out that. Question number 5, each of these diagrams is divided into equal parts. Some of the parts are shaded, okay? Write the letters of all the diagrams that have exactly half shaded. So first of all, again, you're going to go write all the fractions of these. So this would be 3 parts have been shaded, so that would be my top number. And underneath, my bottom number would be how many is in total? There are 8, so 3/8. And then you would say equals a half. And does 3/8 equal a half? No, it does not. So A would not be one of the letters I would write. And then you go and work out equivalent fractions for the rest. It says which of the diagrams has exactly 1/3 shaded? So again, working out equivalent fractions to make 1/3. See which ones are correct and just write the letters for me. Question number 6. Which shape is exactly 1/4 shaded? So again, write the fraction. How many has been shaded here? 3 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So out of 12. So 3/12. Does that equal 1/4? So you write 3/12. You write 1/4. You see if you can do your equivalent fraction. Does it make an equivalent fraction? If it works out, then you would say yes. If it doesn't, you would put no. Leave it blank. Question number 7, can you shade a quarter of the shape? So again, count how many triangles there are. That would be your bottom number, equals a quarter. And then use your equivalent fraction knowledge to work out how many you would need to shade. Question number 8, put a tick for which shapes are exactly a third shaded. Again, write the fractions of each of these shapes. Okay, so work out how much has been shaded. Equals a third. Does it equal a third? Yes or no? So put a tick or a cross. Right, and that is it. So I'm going to give you the answers now. So if you have not had a time to go and answer any of those, go back, go and pause the video at any time that you need to. By now, this should be kind of common practice, and go and see if you can get those answers for me. All right, and then unpause the video for the end to see the answers. So I'm going to go through it and you can see how well you did. So here are the answers. Right, here's question number 1. At any time you need to pause the video, please do so. Here is question number 2. Here is question number 3. Here is question number 4, 5. Here is question number 6. Here is question number 7 and 8. Right, and that is it. All right, so I'm going to stop the sharing there, and I'm going to go back to our maths page. Right, I just want to check with the 2 chilies. I don't think I've given you the answers for today, so I'm quickly going to go and get the answers from yesterday, because these were just the same. So if you were doing 2 chilies, here are your answers, and I'll just quickly pop that into the slides for you. Let's find 2 chilies. Here we go. Okay, and let's just, now you can see how we all make our lessons. Right, so here are the answers for the 2 chilies. Okay, hopefully you've done really well with the 2 chilies, and some of you have gone and tried some of those more challenging questions for the 3 chilies. Right, and here is a little bit of a challenge to see if you can figure out the answers to these. Okay, what is the missing numbers? All right. So pause the video now. If you're doing the 1 or 2 chilies, here's a bit of a challenge. Right, let's quickly do the answers. So what did I do to the 2 to get 12? I multiplied it by 6. Whatever I do to the 1 number, I need to do to the other. It says color 2 eighths of each shape. So I've got 4 and I've got 8 parts here. So that's quite nice and easy. I just have to color 2. I've got 4, 8, 12, 16. So I have 16 here. And I want to color 2 eighths of it. 2 eighths equals 16. So I'm going to say 8 times 2 gives me 16. So I'm going to say 2 times 2 gives me 4. So I'm going to color in 4 parts. Okay. Match the equivalent fraction. All right. So again, you can write the fraction out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 tenths. I've got 4 eighths here. No, I don't have 4 eighths. I have 4 sixths. And I have 3 fifths. Right. So these 2 will be equivalent fractions, and these 2 will be equivalent fractions. Okay. So 3 times 2 gives me 6. 5 times 2 gives me 10. 2 times 2 gives me 4. 3 times 6 gives 3 gives me 6. Match the equivalent fraction. So now I'm going to be looking at this bottom number, and quite clearly I can see that it ends on a 5. So I know that when I'm counting in multiples of 5, I need to either land on a 0 or a 5. So these numbers here do not have a 0 or 5, so I can quickly, easily match those up. All right. And then 4 times 2 is 8. 48 times 2 is 96. And 9 16ths is equal to 36 64ths. So hopefully you've done a bit of a challenge there and understood that. And if you were doing the 3 chilies, here is a challenge for you. Okay, so can you give me 2 possibilities, 2 values for A and B? All right, so you can pause the video now and give that a go. Right, and here are the answers. There were 3 actually that you could have given. So any of those 3 you have done really, really well and understood equivalent fractions. So that is all from me today, guys. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you a bit later.